Hello, boys and girls. In this lesson today, we're going to be learning our metric units in length, which is 4.8a, which is identify relative sizes of measurement units within the customary and the metric system. So we're going to first start with length in the metric system. And basically in our notes today, the common measurements are millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. But we're going to look at each one of them and kind of come up with a benchmark. A benchmark is like a picture or something we can think of to help us remember the length of that unit. So we're talking about length today. Length is how long things are, how tall they are, or how far apart they might be. Okay, and there are examples of, we're going to go over examples of measurements in length. Okay. Small metric units of length are called millimeters. So that's the smallest unit that we have, and they're millimeters. The tip of your pencil is about a millimeter. So if you're thinking about a millimeter, I have a pencil here. It's about the small little tip. I also have a ruler here. On the top of this ruler are centimeters. Okay. Each itty bitty little black line here is a millimeter, so you can see how small that is. So when we want to put a benchmark to it, we could say the width of a dime, if you turn a dime sideways, or we could say the tip of a pencil. And we can also look on our math charts, because on our math charts we'll have a centimeters, and in between those are millimeters. These are little millimeters in between here. Now, 10 millimeters make a centimeter. So here's a centimeter. So the distance from here to here is a centimeter, and you can see this is a centimeter ruler. You can see it right here. And a centimeter is about the width of my pinky finger. So my pinky finger is probably a little bit fatter than yours, but if I put my pinky finger down, it's about the width. So that's one way to remember about a centimeter. So you have millimeters are really, really tiny. I like to think of millipedes, and they have more legs in my sense than in our thinking, and maybe have than a centimeter. A centipede. Centipede are a little bit more. Then we have 100 centimeters makes a meter. Now you can't see this and the length of this, but I do have a metric. And let me pull back away. I do have a meter stick here. In this meter stick, you can see. Now, how we can remember a meter is the ceiling tile. And I know your teachers have taught you this. This is about, if I look up on a ceiling tile in my wall, do you see the length right there from one tile to the next? That would be approximately what we would say is about the length of a meter. So a meter is kind of, whoops, and I'm trying to get this set up so where it's not so, okay. So that would be your ceiling tile. So when you're in class or whatever, you look up that length right there. That's going to be about a meter, okay? Remember, your centimeter is your pinky, and your millimeter is the tip of a pencil or the side, or turning a dime sideways and looking at the width. Now, the biggest unit that you're going to be talking about in length, when we're talking about the metric system, is the kilometer. Okay, and the kilometer, think about where our school is at Woodlands to Quail Creek Church. Okay, it's not quite to Walmart, but it's a little bit closer. So if you haven't seen that church, ask your parents where that is when you drive by it, because I'm positive that you probably drive by it and you don't notice it. But if you think about that, we say that long, huge distance is a kilometer. Now notice when you're working with the metric system, everything ends in meter because everything is compared to a meter, okay? So that's something to help you kind of remember the difference between metric and customary. But on your math charts, you don't have to remember that because it'll tell you whether it's a metric length or a customary length. Okay. Kilometers are long distances that are most commonly used to measure the distance between places which are far away from each other. Most people refer to kilometers when they are running races. Remember the names of the units and their lengths end in meter. Okay? So, in the metric system, here are the common lengths and here are their abbreviations, and they all end in meters. So a millimeter is mm, centimeter is cm, but a meter, the standard unit, is m. and then kilometer. Choose the appropriate unit of measurement for each. Write millimeter, centimeter, meter, or kilometer. So if I wanted to measure the length of my finger, how long it is, millimeters would be a little bit too small because those are too tiny. A centimeter would be good, but would a meter be too big? Probably. So I would say centimeters. The width of your big toe. If I drew a picture of a big toe here, and we're going to go through the width of it right here, going across from it, to probably get, you say, well, my finger would, but to get a closer estimate, I would go a little bit down. So I would say a millimeter. You would want to measure that in millimeters to get a really close estimate, because 1 centimeter, it could be a little bit ahead of it or it could be a little bit underneath it. And so depending on what big toe you're looking at. The length of the cafeteria. Now in the cafeteria, that's quite a bit of ways. We walk quite a bit. But is it the distance from here to Quail Creek? No, that's a kilometer. Millimeters would be way too small. We would be counting forever. Centimeters would be the width of our pinky finger. That's too much. But a meter maybe. Yeah, the length of the ceiling tile. So I would say meter. Or you could just put M for meter. And the distance between Amarillo and Canyon, I would definitely use a kilometer, that largest unit, because that's a big, huge drive. Okay, so those are that's part of our notes for metric unit length in the metric unit.